But the retailers announced plans to shut a further 8 shops in a very big blow, not just to those workers, not to their customers necessarily, as much as just, well, actually the towns where they are based. They are a huge part of our high streets in many cities and towns. And just the latest blow to the retail trade. Let's talk to Kate Hardcastle MBE, who's a retail analyst. Good morning, Kate.
Hi, good morning.
When the huge giants, the stores which have, they are just the absolute, the foundation stone of our high streets and our shopping centres, the stores which have always done so well, the stores which are, seem to manage no matter what, even in a recession, they somehow muddle through. The ones who are really good online, as John Lewis is, and can keep themselves going that way, when they start closing stores en masse like this, there is a serious problem, don't you?
I think John Lewis probably were hiding some quite big strategic challenges before this, and I think that the statements that have been made by Dame Sharon White last year and the radical changes they're wanting to make for the organisation, trying to use that trusted brand and moving it more into a financial service and also even looking at residential property letting, I think that indicates that this isn't just a COVID-born situation. Absolutely, it's exacerbated the movement of online shopping, and I think that will start to balance back, not to previous levels, but it will start to come back when shops reopen. But this is an organisation that basically had a price promise that it was never knowingly undersold, which meant it spent a long time price matching a lot of online operators, which had really detracted and taken away from the profit opportunity. And I think we've got to be realistic about that. They'd also gone through quite a strange plan where they seem to be opening shops at a time when people just weren't opening those size of stores. Yeah. So have they made decisions that have really blighted them to mean that when March 2020 hit us all, they weren't in the strongest position? And I think similarly, we've talked about it before, but that could be very relevant to Marks and Spencer's too, who came out with the plan last year saying we are never going to be the same again. I think these are retailers that perhaps just haven't moved enough with the times.
But yes, certainly Marks and Spencer hadn't been very good online. I think other than the flowers, they're being a bit rubbish online. You couldn't get your delivery, and of course they've now gone and done that deal with Ocado. But this interesting thing is, I'm someone who shops pretty regularly at John Lewis. I'm not a big fan of walking into shops an awful lot. I like to buy online, and I think I'm a waitress. At the end of the road, I can choose something online. I can get it delivered there. I can just return it there. It's all very nice and very easy. But I've never shopped at John Lewis because of the price issue. I always sort of think, well, they only sell stuff that's decent quality, and they give me a 2-year guarantee on my white goods or my tech goods, and thank you very much. That's good enough for me. I wonder how much that never knowingly undersold thing was actually a big issue for a lot of the customers, and in which case they may well have actually lost an awful lot of profit over the years trying to match prices when people are going to John Lewis for something other than price. If you want to buy cheaply, John Lewis wouldn't be the place I'd go.
Well, the truth will be in the boardroom and in the research that they'll have received, and that's going to have been absolutely so important and crucial to making the decisions they've made. They won't make decisions about store closures lightly. Yeah. And absolutely, as you said in the intro, when you think about a store like Sheffield, which is one of these 8, the city centre of Sheffield is really reliant on that property and reliant on that retail to bring it. But if they don't see a future there, that's the cold, hard yards of this. And I think what I'll also say as well, whilst we move forward into online retail, it's not just about have you got the basic premise of a catalogue online. It's so much more sophisticated than that. Yeah. You've got to be able to build relationships with customers. That's everything about your social engagement, the conversations you have. And I don't know if these colder, bigger retailers actually do that, even as well as some of our smaller retailers that have taken the opportunity online.
Yeah, and some of them have done an amazing job. But it's just, let's bear in mind that, the John Lewis Christmas ad is the start of the Christmas period. That's when most people, right, it's Christmas, the John Lewis ad is ad. But you mentioned Sheffield, it's also Aberdeen and Peterborough and York where the big 4 department stores are closing, and they're at their John Lewis at home shops in Ashford, Basingstoke, Chester and Tunbridge Wells, which are all actually the more recent openings have only been open for since 2010 onwards. But there was that expansion, as you say. But the thing is, a lot of these stores, and we have the same issue with, the BHS, the Debenhams, so all these other really big stores, House of Fraser, where they are the massive big store on the high street that everyone knows, and that's what people go, oh well, that's the sort of the foundation stone of the high street, and then shops grow up around them, and we know certainly, shopping centres, it would be the case where, Marks and Sparks or John Lewis, they'd get their rent for free, because once you've got a John Lewis or absolutely fine, everyone else will pile in and pay the big rents to be in the same superstore as them. But so these stores not being in there, it's not just that people won't be able to shop there. A lot of the other stores that rely on them, they're going to be falling away as well. We are going to be seeing a huge number of the shops that we have had closed over the last year, for most of the last year, they're never going to actually reopen in the same way or even at all, are they?
I think you're right about the anchor tenant and how important that is to the businesses around it. And that can just not be retail too. That could be hairdressers services, the local coffee shop. I mean, it's a knock-on effect. But I think we've got to understand our high streets have to be human. They can't hang their hat just purely on retail anymore. It's got to be sophisticated planning to get us communities back. We need the spaces and places to be that aren't just reliant on one retail tenant. I think one thing we have seen, which is green shoot and positive, is there's certainly been a shift of an understanding that consumers also have to support, buy and really look after the local smaller businesses. And I think what we might see out of that is then more villages and smaller towns actually see a bit of resurgence where it's all been about bigger city centres and out of town shopping. We're just going to see a shift, and all retail's been for hundreds of years is an evolvement and a cycle. So we're just going through the next iteration.
Yeah, very good point. A lot of this may just been speeded up. Thank you very much, Kate Hardcastle. Appreciate that.